Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Monday morning to you all. Hope the week is going to treat you well. It's a big week for Spurs coming up this week, obviously, with Thursday being the first leg of the European two-legged affair with Bodo Glimt. Obviously, West Ham as well at the weekend. But in this video, we are going to be talking about Liverpool yesterday. Don't worry, I will come to it. I will talk on the game yesterday. I'm just going to leave it there and be nice. We're also going to be talking about Romero apparently saying yes to Atletico Madrid. We'll be talking about that. We're going to be talking about a little bit of Marc Guéhi flavoured news, a fixture rearrangement potentially happening in May as well. So plenty to get into and talk about. I hope we're all okay. How we are all right. Sonia, Spurs, Graham, Dante, Marshall. I hope we're all okay. I hope the day is going well for you. Now, we'll quickly talk about the game yesterday, okay, before coming on to Thursday, before coming on to Romero and Guéhi and the fixture rearrangement side of things. Yesterday was a weird one. We went 1-0 up, and I thought I told the referee, I said next goal wins, and we went 1-0 up, and I thought, well, that's it, we've won. And the referee was like, won't be happening today, Chief. I think we're going to be playing on. And I was like, well, there you go then. We can't win, can we? Audio's a bit knackered, is it? Is that any better? Hello, yes, maybe. But look, we scored the first goal. It's a lovely header, by the way. We talk the first game. It's a lovely header. It's a great ball and it's a lovely header. And Spurs, ironically, from corners, we are good from corners in terms of scoring them. I think it's probably more so that we have such a high volume of corners every single game. I mean, yesterday, how many did we have yesterday? We only had 2. Wow, that's rare for us. We normally have do you remember the first time of the season? It was we had 40 in terms of the first 3 games or something ridiculous. But it's a good header, all that being considered, and it went in and I laughed. I didn't even celebrate. I just laughed. We weren't keeping a clean sheet yesterday. Nobody would have thought that. So I was like, look, they're going to score. It's a matter of when, not if. Now, the irony to it being only a few minutes later is something else. We obviously made a lot of rotation yesterday. 2 new centre-backs. Your midfield's a bit different. Your fullback pairing is obviously a bit different. Your attack, ironically, the attack was about right. But in all honesty, we were never going to be very good yesterday. I'm going to be really honest. We were never going to be good yesterday. Ange wouldn't have won if he had played the full 11. We lost 2-1 and got injuries. And he wasn't going to win with the rotation that he did have in terms of in the minds of some fans. Again, not Ange in, not Ange out. So before anyone cries about it, I'm neither. I'm just supporting the club until the end of the season. And I said very quickly, I said, this game yesterday, it really changes nothing for the season. I keep repeating it. It changes nothing for the season. We're not, finishing crazy high. We're not going to be relegated. You know what I mean? It was an opportunity to really build some momentum and form, even if even if we lost, but there is obviously a self-confidence built in by some players doing certain things. Solanke scoring. I think Solanke scoring could be a massive thing, by the way. I try and take positives for every single game because there is games. Every single game has a positive if you're willing to find it. That's my saying. I love that saying. Every negative has a positive if you're willing to find it. Solanke scoring could be the real big thing out of this. Going into Thursday, it's massive. Obviously, was the performance good? No. Did anyone play well? No. I'm not denying it. It wasn't a good performance. I think last time we won at Liverpool was 14, 15 years ago. It's not exactly a place where we pick up loads of points, is it? And I think Ange is, a guy who wants to win every game, like we all do. Every manager wants to win every game. No, that's not shocking. I think he also picks up the situation that we're in. Thursday is everything. You know, I mean, if you're one of those people on Twitter saying Ange needs to go ahead of a semi-final for European football, then I'm not really interested in what you have to say. You know, that is a massive part of our problem. That's a mistake, in my opinion. He's not going to, and I've always said, even if you like Ange or hate Ange, right? He's not being sacked. Okay. At the end of the season, it was always talked about. At the end of the season, that's when the review is happening. So for the most part, we can all just get on with it. Now, if you go on Twitter, you can't get on with it. You know, Ange is the second coming of Lucifer. You know, it's the apocalypse. Blah 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 blah. But you know, any logical fan, whether they're Ange in or Ange out, kind of goes, he's here until the end of the season. We just got to get on with it now. So that's my attitude. Is just we're getting on with it now. Look, yes, the performance yesterday wasn't good. I'm not denying it. I'm not. So before anyone cries that I'm glossing over the game, I'm not. But I'm also very much more self-aware than maybe people think I am. And winning yesterday would have been great, right? Like, let's say best case scenario, we won 2-0 yesterday. Oh, it's amazing. It's this, that, and the other. The league position is the league position, and people still would be unhappy about the league position. So losing it, ironically, changes nothing, right? Losing or winning really would have changed nothing, to be honest. Now, there would have been maybe, you know, a few more positive minds going into Thursday, but in reality, in the bigger picture, it doesn't change a lot. You can still build form and confidence through your own individual play. I've always been really clear on that. Now, the irony is in Europa League, we've actually been a really good team in the Europa League. You know, oh, Spurs haven't played great teams. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Spurs don't control the draw. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that Bodo Glimt put out Lazio, who one of the top 6 teams in Italy. I'm sorry for that. I'm so sorry that clubs do their own thing. Regardless, knocked out the third best team in Germany last round. A prolific goal-scoring team. They scored 1 goal in 2 games. So in the Europa League, we are actually a half decent team. Now the irony to that is because we're playing the strongest 11 that we could possibly field out there. And look, we come to Thursday. I do have a bit of an injury update on Son. I will not forget about that. But we come to Thursday. You know, Romero's healthy, Van der Ven's healthy, Porro's healthy, Bentancur's healthy. You know, Kulusevski healthy. And that's massive, by the way. I cannot stress enough. That's massive. That is the spine, the backbone of your team for the most part, being fit, healthy, and raring to go. You know, Mickey being 100% fit. Well, I wouldn't say 100% fit because it's always hard to say, but Mickey being fitter than normal, Romero being fitter than normal, and Romero having a little bit of rest, by the way. Porro is a guy that deserves 2 weeks holiday. You know, the guy deserves a little bit of rest. He's worked so bloody hard when everyone else was getting injured. Him having a bit of rest, I think my early prediction for Thursday is Pedro Porro is going to have an absolute belter of a game, by the way. I really think he will. Because whenever Porro's got a little bit of rest, the next game, he always plays really, really well. I think Thursday will be that time as well. You know, you got to think he would have played a week ago. So we played Forest a week ago, right? He'd have played that game, didn't play at the weekend, plays this Thursday. He'd have about 10 days rest. But let's call it 8 days rest, right? Let's just call it 8. If you factor in the fact that Mickey and Kuti played 45 minutes in that Monday game a week ago, Bentancur, I know he played 90, but he wouldn't have played for 8 days rest. So I'm factoring that into Thursday, and I think Thursday it will be really, in terms of what you saw yesterday and on Monday even to that Thursday, it'll be night and day, and people then will complain. Well, it's Bodo Glimt, it's not Liverpool away. It's like, yeah, Liverpool away. Like, we never do well. It's just the way it is. It's the way the cookie crumbles. So there's that. Now, a little bit of injury news ahead of Thursday. Son is touch and go for Thursday. Obviously you still got today, tomorrow, and the day after for things to sort of change for the most part. If he's touch and go, maybe stick him on the bench, you know, break glass in case of emergency. But if you're 3-0 up, then let's not risk him. Let him just get right. Let him just get right, okay? But supposedly he is on the mend. Obviously, you think about the rest of the group. Injuries wise, Radu, obviously, we always forget about Radu, don't we? But Radu's obviously long term injured. Um, but that's that. But I think another positive yesterday. If you actually look at the goals, I'm not going to put much on Kevin Danso yesterday. Ironically, I thought he was actually half decent. He wasn't great. We conceded 5. I'm not saying that he was good, but he didn't have an absolute stinker like I think some of the other defenders did, like Davies, Destiny. I think even Spence at times. I don't think any of them did very well. It's hard to be a defender when the other 3 are absolutely throwing up stinkers. Thought Vic's distribution was poor. I think people are overdoing this whole Vic's not good enough thing. It's lazy. It's reactive. If it wasn't for Vic this season, the games that we did lose, we'd have lost by an extra 2 or 3. The games that we won, we wouldn't have won for the most part. And the games that we drew, we wouldn't have drew. If you're putting down this season and our issues on Vic, it kind of just shows you're very short-term thinking. You're very reactionary. You don't think of the bigger picture. He is not one of my concerns in this team. Also, playing out from the back, it's quite easy when you've got Mickey and Kuti and Bentancur in front of you than a left back playing centre back, a centre back who hasn't played a lot of football recently, and an 18, 19-year-old playing number 6 in one of his first games at number 6 for Spurs. Don't panic about it. Don't put too many eggs in that basket. I'm not concerned about it. Okay. I'm not. Okay. I think also people kind of look at goalkeepers, and if they can't distribute like Ederson, then they're rubbish at distributing as well. It's also that. It's like Ederson is a breed on his own. He's in another stratosphere in terms of playing out from the back. I think Ederson probably could give you a shift at left back at times, no doubt. He's solid enough. Okay. By the way, I have seen your comments. I'm not ignoring any of them. You'll be surprised. A lot of times that comments come through, as I read them, they then factor into a different point later on. So don't worry. I'm not ignoring any of you. All right. Not ignoring any of you. But yeah, look, Thursday is obviously massive. It looks like Sonny is touch and go. We'll just see on him. He should be back for the second leg for sure. That's famous last words, especially with our medical team. He should be back for Thursday the week after in the away leg, which he may be very much needed. You never know. You never know how this first leg goes. Obviously, I know Bodo Glimt are missing a few players for Thursday, but we will do the preview for Bodo Glimt. Not today. We're doing it another day. We'll talk about it then. But, the opportunity to have an absolute belter on Thursday is there. I'm not ignoring you, Simbo. I promise you, Simbo, I'm still here. I live in the Netherlands. Spurs buys a lot of players from the Dutch league. I wonder why they usually buy the wrong ones. With the Dutch league, it's an interesting one. Really quickly before I move on, the Dutch league, in terms of players leaving the Dutch league to the Premier League, there is more evidence of a lack of success for certain players than there are actual success. And it's not like every player is poor. But I also think it depends where you go. If you think of Anthony, came from Ajax, was a great right winger, comes to Man United, struggles, he goes to Betis, he's having some success. Vincent Janssen was a guy that we signed, top goal scorer in the Eredivisie, didn't do very well for us. Jahanbash left the Eredivisie to Brighton, didn't do well. He was their record signing for a little while. Gravenberg has come to Liverpool and this season had a lot more success. I thought last season was good in part, but he didn't do very well in Germany. Now, maybe he didn't get a fair opportunity, but that's it. For every one that does well, I can show you at least 2 or 3 that maybe didn't do well. Gakpo comes from PSV, 45 odd million, didn't do well in his first period for Liverpool. Now look at him. I think he's their second best attacker behind, obviously, Mo. So there goes a rhyme for you as well. Depay's another one. Did well in France. Didn't do very well for Manchester United. There's loads to go through. I'm not going to go through it because, for all those people that I said didn't do well, Jan Vertonghen, Toby Alderweireld, they're pretty decent. So, you know what I mean? It depends on the system, where the club is at, what you're asking them to do they fit what all those things are. And sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So there you go. Yes, there's a little bit of news on Sonny. Andy, the hatred is passed around based upon who was bad recently. You watch Archie Gray cop it if he makes another mistake in another game in the first half versus Liverpool. I mean, yeah. I mean, the people that were like, if you're digging out Archie Gray for yesterday, just sit back and keep it to yourself. Archie wasn't the issue yesterday in terms of what we have asked of him yesterday. We wanted him to play midfield. It's away at Liverpool, the best team in England and the best team by a mile in England. It's obviously not going to be an easy game. And yeah, maybe there's a few things that he could have done better, but he's also young. I mean, the amount of people going, God, he got bullied a little bit in the challenges by the midfielders. I mean, he's still a teenager. I'll be real with you. He's still going through puberty. He still will grow into a man's body. Yeah, I always compare me at 19, me at 29, right? Me at 19, in terms of like lifting at the gym, was stronger than me at 29. I've grown into my man's body at 29. I look stronger. I also know how to use my strength in a different way. You know, whenever I play football, I don't get shrugged off the ball because, you know, I know how to shift my weight a bit better. He will learn to do that. I did it at 6-a-side and, you know, when I did play 11-a-side, it's different, you know, than Premier League. So I'm not going to shoot him for it. You've asked him to play right back and centre back all year. It's never going to be easy. He will get better. I've always said he's a rock star in the making. Wait to see him at 21, and he will be a different catalyst for. I mean, he'll probably be an England international. You know, I think Bergvall. I think sort of athletic development is probably just that little bit further ahead than Archie. Hence why, you know, you don't see Bergvall getting shrugged off the ball. You do see, you know, Archie Gray getting shrugged off the ball. I mean, Eli says I put 15 pounds on in 3 years of muscle. That's about right. When you're young, your body can bounce back from anything. You know, at 18 to 21, you know, I could train twice a day, 6 days a week, and I wouldn't have any issues. Now, if you ask me to do just one day of 2 a day, that's me done for a week and I'm out of commission. So it just matters person to person. How is Ange still here? Adiz, we've been through that, mate. We've been through that. So look, there's that. Now, quick chat on fixture rearrangement. We are supposedly trying to move the Aston Villa game, which I did have a look at the date. It is the 18th of May, which is the Sunday. Hang on. Bear with me. 18th of May. Yes, the Sunday. The reason is, obviously, if Spurs were to get past Bodo Glimt, the final is on the Thursday of the following week. So Spurs just want to move it a day ahead to give us an extra day of rest. Aston Villa supposedly wrote to the Premier League to say that they don't want to do that, which look, they're within their right to do so. I think people have, you know, got really upset about it. They're right to do so. I mean, the one thing I'd say is karma is, you know what, and it comes around when you least expect it. So if there's ever a situation that they try and do it to Spurs, Spurs will automatically then file an issue with it. But I'd expect the Premier League to hopefully step in and go, we've got a team in a European final. This is, by the way, this is what other top leagues do, right? We got a team in a European final. Let's try and give them as much rest as possible going into that game so they're better. They have a better chance of winning it. I'd expect it to be moved ahead by a day. A day. Even if it's Saturday night that you're playing 8 p.m., it's an extra night of recovery, especially when you're having to travel to Spain. But no, look, it could mean absolutely nothing if Spurs don't get there, though. So there's also that. So that's why I'm not looking into it too much right now. You would hope the Premier League kind of steps in and goes, we're going to move that game. We're going to move that game just a day. But we shall see. They might not, and Spurs might have to go into the game with less rest. I mean, if they're playing Bilbao are already in the city where the game is held. It's already in the stadium where the game is held. So there you go. We'll sort of see. Adiz, Ange's here to the end of the season. Just don't get yourself worked up. Does anyone have any idea how Bodo Glimt play? Like, yes, Marshall, mate. How are you, by the way? I did do a video last week. I think it was. It was last week. I think so. It's got like 5,500 views. Loads of Norwegian and Bodo Glimt fans sort of came in. and were like, hey, like your stuff. Let me just add in a few little bits of information for you. I came away from doing my own research and then them telling me some stuff. And it was like, damn, I feel like I actually know how Bodo Glimt are all about now. And I feel like I know what their players are all about. So there we go. Brian, how are you, my friend? We want to move back to the third. I don't truly know what the situation is in terms of what date they'll get. But even if it's a day in advance, hell, if they don't move it, I'm going to be real. Liverpool have done this. Liverpool did something really fascinating in a cup competition. I think it was a couple of years ago on the Klopp. And they had a game and then another game in like 2 days' time. And the Premier League or the other club just rejected them moving it. So what they did in the cup was just go, okay, fine. We're playing all 18 and all 19-year-olds. That's it. And all the first team, they're playing the next game when we need them most. So if it's the case, I'd go, okay, fine. But we won't move it. We'll just show the Premier League because we'll be at 2:15, so we're probably on TV against Villa. We just go to the Premier League, mate. We don't care about this game. Here's a bunch of 18-year-olds, and if we lose, I mean, hell, if we lose, who the hell cares? You know what I mean? But just do that. Just go. We're going to stick them in for the 18-year-olds. Make all 11 changes. Just completely change the team and go. Oh, by the way, the rest of the first team are already out in Spain, getting ready for the game ahead. And the Premier League would go, well, that's not a very good representation for Premier League football. It's like, well, we wanted to move the game and we would have played a better team, but you didn't. So our season is held dependent on that Thursday. Hence why that's the priority. So if you're not willing to move the game, you just change the whole team. Yeah, Mikey Moore, get yourself some minutes. Dane Scarlett, get yourself some minutes. Basuma, get yourself some minutes. You know what I mean? So that's the way I would do it. So, but we'll see. I think there's a lot of time between here and now. I would hope that if Spurs do want to move it, that because you're putting Aston Villa out, like the fans of Aston Villa out, that you try and help them, in terms of getting home and things like that. I know Daniel Levy, hates fans in theory. That's the way I would do it. That's the way I would do it. But if we do get through to the final, I will be on the record right now. You listening, watching this live or watching this back after I've been live, I do not care about the Aston Villa game if we get to the final. Because that's the game right before the final. All I care about is that game. Hell, I don't even care about Brighton on the last day of the season. It's that game. Winning those two games will mean nothing if we don't win the big one. That's the big one, right? You know what I mean? So we'll go for it from there. Anyway, let's talk some transfer news. I've been through a little bit of injury update on Sonny. I've been through the Liverpool game yesterday. I've obviously been through fixture rearrangements. We've got some transfer news. And again, we'll always put this out there to start every transfer news chat. We unfortunately do not have a clue who the manager is next season. We do not know what the system is that we're playing next season. We don't even know probably who the medical team is for next season, things like that. So until we do, all these transfer chat are very more hypothetical transfer chat. We don't know who the next manager is next season. Even if you don't want Ange, that's fine. You do not know who the manager is. Therefore, transfer chat is all very hypothetical. There isn't any real substance to it. Don't forget also, with new managers coming in, they'll want to have a look at their squad to see who they're working with and who they're going to want to keep around. So if that includes Christian Romero, that'll include Christian Romero. If that includes Rodrigo Bentancur, that'll include Rodrigo Bentancur. If it includes Yves Bissouma, it will include Yves Bissouma. The manager should have authority to move players he does not want to have, but also keep players who he feels like he is going to need to deliver the success that the higher-ups want. If the higher-ups say, we want Champions League football next season, then the manager goes, great, right, I need these players to stay. Doesn't matter who they are. I want 5 new players in these positions. Let's talk some targets. And I want, right, these are my 3 targets at every single position. We work at number 1 being the absolute priority. I don't want to talk about number 2 or number 3 unless number 1 is completely ruled out. And I don't want to hear money's tight, because money isn't tight at Spurs. We know it's not tight at Spurs. Boxing at the weekend, by the way. Chris Eubank versus Conor Benn. That would have paid Spurs millions, absolute millions. Not only to host the event, which they would have made millions, they also would have made so much money from all the people buying stuff within the stadium, all the food and things like that. They would have made absolutely stupid money. So, yes, don't want to hear about money might be tight. It's not. It really isn't. Okay. You're also going to move off of a lot of players this summer. You know, if you think about Brian Hill should be gone. Pierre Højbjerg will be gone. That money will start to come in. Manor Solomon could be gone. First teamers, you know, Richie could be gone. Basuma could be gone. Obviously, we're coming to Romero and Bentancur. But again, until we know who the manager is, it's irrelevant in theory. So let's talk about the first one. Mate Moretto. Again, this is on Christian Romero. Now, let's just go read this. I'm going to bring you something else. And then I'm going to absolutely nuke it for how rubbish it is. Marcin Moretto is saying that Christian Romero has already said yes to Atleti, but it won't be an easy operation because Spurs are asking for a fee that's very high. He's absolutely focused on Spurs' upcoming games, but the idea of being coached by Simeone fascinates him a lot. Now, apparently, Atletico Madrid only want to offer 40 million. Well, fantastic. You can have the boots that he's wearing against Bodo Glimt in the first leg. There's your 40 million. You don't want to pay 40 million. That's great. I want to date prime Megan Fox. It's not happening. 40 million gets them Conor Gallagher. Okay. I think actually he did. No, he wasn't even 40 million. I think it might even cost less. It might have even cost less than 40 million. I mean, let's have a look. Just want to have a look at Alexander Sorloth, the striker for Atleti. Just want to see how much they signed him for. A deal rising up to 32 million euros. So 28, 29 million. Okay. Okay. So hang on. Romero's only worth just a bit more than Alexander Sorloth. Oh, Alexander Sorloth scored loads of goals for Villarreal. Have a look at his this season. It's pretty crap. I mean, Lenny Euro, who's a teenager, was signed for 60 million. Harry Maguire went for 85 million. All those years ago. Harry Maguire was sold years ago, by the way. And you're telling me Christian Romero, 2 years left on his contract, in his mid to late 20s, so he's in slap bang in the middle of it. Well, not even in the middle of his prime. He's just in his prime. World Cup winner. Double Copa America winner. 40 million. Okay. Good luck with that one, Chief. You may love Daniel Levy, you may hate Daniel Levy, but one thing you can guarantee, Daniel Levy will he'll pick up the phone, 40 million, hang up the phone. Don't even give him an answer. Not interested. If you're going to make stupid answers, you're going to get stupid responses. It's not going to be 40 million. It'll be closer to double that. It'll be closer to double that. Now, if they went, we just can't really afford it, but let's do some player exchanges. I'd go, okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay, but we still want some money though. Like, give us the 40. Okay, I'll give you the 40. If it was 40 and a player, then we can have a chat. But again, it also depends on the new manager and who would it be. But yeah, they're not getting him for 40 million. They're not getting him for 40 million. Think about, just having a little think. Wesley Fofana went to Chelsea for 75 million. Badiashile was about 30 million. Okay, Badiashile. Who else is a good comparison? Okay, Aston Villa paid 35 million for Pau Torres, and you want to pay 40 million? Okay. Okay, yeah. I'll cheers to your stupidity. He's 40 million. Okay, cool. I've got blonde hair. The sign, that's actually yellow. That shirt there is red. That shirt there is pink. And this shirt here is green. You see how stupid that looks? Yeah, it's not happening. Don't worry about it. Think of it this way. Last season, we want 150 million for him. Oh yeah, we'll accept 40 in a year's time. 2 years after his contract. 2 years after his contract, we're going to drop our valuation 110 million. Look, the saying is God loves the hopeful and God loves the tries. But God also probably pities the stupid. And he's going to pity this bid. It's a beyond stupid situation. They won't be getting him, okay? We wanted to buy Marc Guéhi for 65 million. So, regardless, it's not going to happen, all right? But look, there's that on Romero. He might have said yes, that's not a problem. He's obviously not spoken to his agent either. So, you either believe them or you believe Romero. I tend to take Romero's words. He's probably never lied to us before. I'll take his word and we'll work with it. I don't really have that issue, to be honest. So there's that. Now, obviously, they may want to make a move for Romero and for Bentancur. Fine. It's doable. They have the money to do it. They're not. For a amount of people that think that La Liga's cash strapped, it is. But if you're one of the top three clubs, which is Real Madrid, Barca, and Atletico Madrid, in no particular order, before someone cries about that, they take the lion's share of all the money. They aren't cash strapped. Not one of those teams are. Atleti can afford to buy Romero for the valuation that we'll probably have, is what I'm saying. Now, they might need to move a few players around. They might need to sell a couple of players, but they'll be able to afford it. If with their whole thing with Atletico Madrid, which, by the way, is lovely, if Romero is Simeone's number one target, they will go and get him. And they will move heaven and earth to get him. We say, we would... This guy's the number one target. And Daniel Levy goes, yeah, all right, good. I'm Daniel Levy and I have hair. So we're going to get you your ninth target and you'll be grateful. So, yeah, don't worry about it. Moving on, though, to a little bit of Marc Guéhi flavour news. Obviously, Marc Guéhi is coming into an interesting summer. Obviously, Palace winning at the weekend to go to the FA Cup final. Fair play to them. Which, by the way, if you didn't look, some of the goals that Palace scored against Villa, bangers. Absolute bangers. So there is that. Now, with that being said, it obviously makes a point that, if they win the FA Cup, they obviously play Manchester City in the final. Probably the worst team that you can imagine playing in an FA Cup final or a League Cup final. I believe they'll get some European football. That might make a change to how Marc Guéhi sees the situation. But Marc Guéhi also might go, look, I'm the captain. We've won the FA Cup. I'm going to leave the club at its all-time high, potentially. I'm going to leave it, move on to the next big part of my chapter. I'm not saying it's Spurs, by the way, before someone cries. But Graham Bailey has said the expectation is that Palace will accept a deal for Marc Guéhi this summer. Newcastle remain keen, along with Chelsea, Bayern Munich, Juventus, Spurs are in there, Liverpool. I think most top teams will be sniffing around Marc Guéhi. He obviously is an England international. Very, very solid. Interesting, though. It's interesting on that side of things. I've just seen an article that's going to really set my blood pressure through the roof. Oh, it's going to send my blood pressure through the roof. Let me finish off with this one first. Marc Guéhi is a really solid centre-back. He is. Is he the Romero replacement? We don't truly know. Obviously, we made an offer in January to try and sign him right at the end of the window, which was half-hearted. It was embarrassing, in my opinion, because it's Spurs' way of saying we won't be able to sign you in the summer because another team will get you. We're going to try and get you now, regardless of Romero. Now, don't get me wrong. If Romero had signed, if Guéhi had signed and Romero is still here, that shows you that they're really trying to make the effort to make the centre-back room really solid. But obviously, we only signed one centre-back and we lost a centre-back for the rest of the season in Radu. We didn't really strengthen that area. So there's that. But we'll see on Marc. I like Marc, but again, it depends on who the manager is. Right, last one, really quickly. This has come up. It has set me through the roof. It set me a little bit through the roof. And it's rinse and repeat. It's the same crap that we have been fed as fans for such a long time. New stadium's a game changer. The new stadium's a game changer. Matt Law saying that Tottenham are facing the prospect of having to sell to buy this summer, despite the fact the club could spend over 200 million without breaching PSR rules. I think Spurs could spend more than 200 million, to be honest. I think someone has said they could spend hundreds of millions and not have any issue. Champions League qualification would improve the situation, but Atletico Madrid target Christian Romero and at least one other star player may have to be sold to generate transfer funds. Need to sell before we buy. This club has twerked, and I mean literally twerked, about look how much money we're bringing in. Look at the revenue. Ooh, look at all the money. We've got European football this season. We're going to turn over even more revenue, more events at the stadium. Need to sell. This stadium was a game changer, apparently. We are, what, we're eighth or ninth? Eighth or ninth in terms of revenue turned over by clubs. And we're going to continue to climb that list, by the way, because of the stadium. Need to sell before we buy. Sold Harry Kane, 85 million, up to about 120. Need to sell before you buy. Now, if they said, we need to sell before you buy, in terms of you're selling Brian Hill and people like that, fine. But the fact you need to sell your best player and maybe your best midfielder to buy is inadequate. And I don't think for a second it's true. They're just putting it out there to make the ambition for the summer come down. Because they don't want to spend that money. They don't. They don't want to spend the money on wages. They don't want to spend that money. Which, by the way, shows, key thing here, you are failing the next manager right off the bat. Right off the bat. You failed Ange right off the bat. You sold Harry Kane. Day before the season. You failed Ange straight away. You sold the best player Spurs have had in however many decades. Failed straight off the bat. New manager comes in. See that best player of yours? We have to sell him. Oh, and you see the midfielder that's probably our best midfielder. We need to sell him as well. You are failing the next manager like that. But we're going to give him 200 million spend. But yeah, you've just sold part of the two bigger parts of your team, the two probably better parts of your team, in your best centre-back and your best midfielder. You're selling both. And you're going to accept 60 million for Romero. No, you're effing not. No, you're effing not. If he's selling Romero, then you try and sell him for 100 million. And then you go to the new guy. We sold 100 million. We got crazy money for him. We're going to give you all of that money. But you're not going to give him all that money. You're not, are you? And let's be real. There's probably something on the side that they want to put money towards. That's why there's not money to spend. Do you know how I know that? Because they did the exact same thing with White Hart Lane. The exact same thing with White Hart Lane. Oh, we want to work on the new stadium, so we've not got any money to spend, unfortunately, for you, Poch. Even though you're this close to winning a Premier League, and this was before the Champions League final, by the way. It was before then. Just don't have the money for it, unfortunately, because of the new stadium. Gets the new stadium. Game changer, apparently. Don't know where the game changing is. Don't know where Daniel, can you see where the game changer in the stadium is? Because I don't see anyone on the pitch as a game changer for the stadium. We had a good 6 months with Conte. That's about it. Went out in the Conference League group stages with Conte. Or Mourinho, or whoever the hell it was. I don't really care. We're currently, 16th in the league, 17th in the league, 20th? I don't really care where we are in the league. It doesn't really, between 12th and 17th makes no difference. The fact is, having to sell before you buy is horrific. And again, why is it coming out the week of the first leg of a Europa League tie? If Daniel Levy is really salivating about, we might be getting Champions League football, then shut up. Keep it to yourself. Don't leak it to the club. The reason that's coming out is from around Daniel Levy. It won't be coming out from Ange is not going to be talking about it. It's not coming out from one of the players. That'll be coming out from one of the higher ups, leaking it to the media. Look, let's try and dampen expectations of the summer now. So when we get there, we won't need to worry. Mate, we've got a Europa League tie in 3 days' time. Since that Champions League run, all those years ago, this is probably the biggest game. This is probably the biggest game that we've had in how long? This and the second leg, obviously, I'm talking about both of them, by the way. Biggest part of our season. This is coming out. Romero chat's coming out. Bentancur chat coming out. Ange might be going. Is Ange going? Is Ange staying? These are the managers Spurs are like. Why is this all coming out now? I don't care if you like Ange. I literally could not give a monkeys if you're Ange in or Ange out, by the way. Don't care. This is now bigger than Ange. This shouldn't be coming out because it's not fair on us as fans. That's why I'm saying it's bigger than Ange. This is on us. This is not fair on us that this stuff's coming out. I should be sitting here going, Thursday. I cannot wait for Thursday. But we're not. I'm talking about Bentancur. I'm talking about Romero because it's coming out. And again, I just report it. I try and absolutely nuke it and get rid of it. I should be talking about, the fixture rearrangement. That's a good thing to talk about. I should be talking about Son and his injury situation. I should be talking about Thursday and a little bit of Bodo Glimt flavoured news. But instead, I'm talking about Spurs might not have to sell to buy in the summer. New stadium is a game changer. Maybe the F1 track's not doing the money they hoped it would. Maybe the hotel's going to be a bit more expensive than they hoped it would. Had boxing at the weekend. Got Chris Brown coming in the summer. Got other musical artists coming in the summer. Got NFL at the stadium. But apparently, there is no money to spend. That is no money to spend. That's what that's saying. That article is saying they have to sell before they buy. That shows there's no money. Now, if the article is saying they have to sell before they buy because of the inflated squad, they need to move off of players. I would understand that because the squad is inflated. Even the players out on loan, they're still a part of the squad. So, they need to move off of, Reguilon will be gone, Werner will be gone, Forster should be gone. They're going to maybe try and move off of Basuma and Richie. They're going to try and move off of, Hill and Solomon and whatever. But no, it doesn't say that. Sell before you buy. The club's net transfer debt of 279 million means a tough window of trading. Then it just shows. Then that's it, isn't it? It just shows. Actually, this is a really key thing because it means what is it? Oh, we haven't sold players very well. Then Fabio Paratici and Daniel Levy. This one's on you, boys. Cheers for that. Johan Lane came into this summer having to look at Tanguy and Ndombele, who had been moved on loan, 3 times in that period? Having to look at Sergio Reguilon, having a look at all these players who are at the club and they haven't made any fees. Now, look, selling Harry Kane for 100 million is going to help. Selling Oliver Skip for 27.5 million is going to help. And Harry Winks for 10 million. That's all PSR. So PSR, they've ticked that box. Spurs could probably spend about 500 million, no doubt, and then they'd have some issues maybe. That's how strong. I think there's only one, maybe. I mean, Brighton, I don't know if they're as strong as us anymore, but Brighton are with us there, and Brentford are number 1. But then this is what I mean. It shows, Daniel Levy, you failed then. If you can't sell the players that we need to sell, you have failed. Fabio Paratici, you have failed. And I know people love Fabio, and it may upset you that I'm punking Fabio Paratici with this, but I said when we first signed him, big thing about Fabio Paratici is he's going to sign you players. He is really poor at selling players. My Juventus friend said he can't sell players. He struggles to sell players. Great bringing players in. He brought in Cristiano Ronaldo. Selling players, poor. Well, lo and behold, selling players, poor. Hasn't changed. And there's a reason they're trying to go this young player route. Well, if they need to sell before they buy, then why is it they were trying to spend 65 million in January on Marc Guéhi? Why is that then? Sell before you buy. Absolute crap. Absolute crap. Club that turns over 500,000,000 in revenue. Sell before you buy. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Anyway, look, I'll wallow in self pity off screen. All right. Just want to give you a heads up. Looking ahead for the rest of the week. Obviously tomorrow, loan round back tomorrow, which really looking forward to talking about that. Obviously, Leeds play tonight, so Manor Solomon flavoured news off of tonight's game. That's a huge game tonight, by the way. Leeds versus Bristol City. Bristol City needing points potentially to stay in the playoff hunt. Leeds, obviously, to win the title. They're 3 points behind with a game in hand. A win takes them back top. Obviously, a Bodo Glimt preview will be out either tomorrow or it'll be out Wednesday. We shall see on that. But yes, we'll know more about really the Bodo Glimt game probably next day or two. I'm gonna do something that's a bit odd today. I'm gonna sit there and I am going to watch Bodo Glimt games. They won at the weekend. I know that. I think they played yesterday. I think they won 3-0. I'm going to watch some Bodo Glimt stuff today. I don't know if that's a bit odd and weird, but I'm going to. And then, yes, for the preview for the game, I will be flat out ready for the preview. Okay. Discord. Yeah, let me do it before I wrap up because Jazz and Steve have talked about it, the anarchist that he is. There is the link. Please join Discord. Chatting away in there most days. Jazz is the leader of my Discord. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, definitely doing the loan roundup and maybe the preview. So please join me for that. And I'll speak to you all very soon to talk a hell of a lot more about Spurs. Take care, everyone. Peace.